We were opening up the year at the Big House, taking on number 3 Michigan and J.J. McCarthy. After losing a lot of our best players through graduation and the draft, we were projected to finish last in the SEC East. However, the 15th best recruiting class added a lot of much-needed depth, and after signing a new 6-year deal, Scott Gandy and I were ready to lead the Commodores to their best season yet. The freshman QB had the best arm I had ever seen, but after we got stopped at midfield, Michigan ran the ball down our throats and they got on the board first. However, Scott Gandy responded right back, finding freshman wide receiver Brian Lumpkin for 6. He was another new face on our offense, and we were actually playing so well that we took an early lead on Michigan with this Patrick Smith touchdown. I was very happy with how we had played in the first half, and by the end of the third quarter, Joe Samuel was putting us back up 4. But unfortunately, J.J. McCarthy gave the Wolverines the lead right after that. On the next drive, freshman Scott Gandy was able to find James Rutledge on the wheel route, and that put Vanderbilt back on top. That didn't stop Michigan from working their way right back into the end zone, but we had 40 seconds and a dream of beating Michigan at the Big House. Unfortunately, the freshman side of Scott Gandy came out when we needed him the most, and we fell 3 points short of upsetting the Wolverines. But next on the schedule was our cross-division rivals, and this was possibly the best way we could have started our rivalry game against Ole Miss, as Quincy Skinner Jr. took the 15-yard in route all the way to the house on the second play of the game. Additionally, on the next drive down the field, Quincy Skinner Jr. somehow caught another touchdown. This clutch stop on 4th and goal by cornerback Greg Miller kept the Rebels off the board, and with the speed of Brian Canary, we were able to go 99 yards down the field in just 4 plays, and we ended up winning by 23 as backup Jacoby Criswell took the final knee. The following week, we were playing the Tigers at home, and after going down 7 early, Patrick Smith tied up the game for us. I could tell it was going to be another back and forth game against the Tigers, and right when I thought we were going to take the lead before halftime, Scott Gandy threw this interception right to them. Midway through the third, Gandy connected with Brian Lumpkin for this 22-yard gain, and Patrick Smith walked it into the end zone right after. A couple minutes later, Scott Gandy was able to find a wide-open Brian Lumpkin again for an easy touchdown, and when Memphis threatened to score on the goal line, Luke Bell fumbled it, and Greg Miller was able to recover the ball for us. That ended up being enough for us to seal the game. We were hosting undefeated number 5 Alabama at home, and Scott Gandy got lit up early on and lost the ball. But we recovered it and went up 3, and midway through the second quarter, Scott Gandy connected with Brian Canary to put us up 10. However, by the third quarter, we had lost our lead, and Alabama had finally figured out how to lock us up. On top of that, they were able to easily get right back into the end zone and increase their lead. With less than 5 minutes left in the game, we had to go 95 yards to stay in it, and surprisingly, our freshman quarterback was able to lead us all the way down the field, and Patrick Smith finished off the long drive. We even got the 2-point conversion, but we had to get a stop on defense to have a chance, and when Alabama running back Roydell Williams broke away, I let him get in so we'd have all 3 timeouts. On the first play after they scored, we faked out the Alabama defense with the play action, and Brian Canary absolutely dusted the Crimson Tide's defense before they could even notice, but we needed to stop incredibly bad, and just when I thought we had him, Roydell Williams broke away for a 47-yard run, and then he iced the game for the Crimson Tide with this run a couple plays later. We weren't able to pull off the upset, and our schedule wasn't getting any easier. Undefeated number 5 Florida was gonna be hell, but surprisingly, we started off the game by getting on the board first, and then on our next drive, we faked the Gators out with this play action, and the 2 freshmen hooked up in front of everyone to increase our lead. I couldn't believe it, but Florida sent a blitz, Scott Gandy found Brian Canary, and it looked like we might actually pull off the upset. And I guess the Vanderbilt home field advantage was too much for the Gators because we were running away with it in the first quarter. I had spoken too soon. Going into halftime, it was a 12-point game, and Florida came out and got within 5 on their opening drive of the second half. We needed our team to return to first quarter form because they were not playing well, and that's exactly what we did at the start of the fourth quarter, taking a 2-possession lead. However, the Gators responded right back with a touchdown, but this clutch 2-point conversion stop put us in a great position, and after we recovered the onside kick, we ran out the clock and celebrated our upset win. Freshman Scott Gandy played amazing, and to celebrate, he went out and became a new member of the newly launched Patreon. With benefits such as naming a player, a fantasy football league, video shoutouts, and more, your support for the channel and better videos in the future is just 1 click away. We were playing at Sanford Stadium, and this was a tough environment for our freshman QB, but it didn't faze him as he drove us all the way down the field to take an early lead. After losing to us last year, Georgia wanted revenge, and Oliver Keys walked into the end zone to tie the game, and on their next drive, senior quarterback Carson Beck picked up his 2nd touchdown of the game. Instead of taking our 3, we faked it, and I used backup Jacoby Criswell to get us the first down. And then Patrick Smith finished the job to tie the game. But Georgia would take a 3-point lead lead right before halftime. Midway through the third quarter, things were not looking good for us as Georgia extended their lead to 17, and when Scott Gandy led us all the way down the field just to turn the ball over to the Bulldogs, we knew that the game was over. The SEC East was the hardest division in football, and if we wanted to get ranked this season, we would have to beat number 22 Auburn. This was the best possible way we could have started our game at Jordan-Hare Stadium as Patrick Smith took the halfback screen all the way to the house on our first play of the game. And after Auburn tied the game up, freshman Brian Lumpkin made one guy miss, made another guy miss, broke a couple tackles, and made the play of the season. By the third quarter, the Tigers had tied the game again, but Brian Lumpkin wasn't done, and he caught another touchdown pass. To start the fourth quarter, on a crucial 3rd and 7, we locked up Auburn, and 2 plays later, Scott Gandy saw Brian Canary burn his man, and he hit him in stride. This huge play ended up giving us a 2-possession lead, and on a 4th and goal that could have ended the game, somehow Demarius Davis and Jordan Ingram were able to keep the Tigers in it by getting into the end zone. But all we needed was 1 first down, and we got it. We picked up a massive win on the road. Against South Carolina, Scott Gandy was able to find Quincy Skinner Jr. at the start of the second quarter for this touchdown, and then on the next drive, he threaded the needle to find Quincy Skinner Jr. again. We had an 8-point lead going into the half, but near the end of the third quarter, we found ourselves down by 3, and even though we moved the ball pretty well until this third down play, we had to settle for a 54-yard field goal with Joe Samuel. But with 2 minutes left, the Gamecocks went up 3, and then the stupidest play ever happened. James Parker fumbled the kickoff, it went back into the end zone, and Patrick Smith jumped on it. We had just given up the worst safety ever, but we were able to stop South Carolina's rushing game, so we still had 50 seconds and a dream. Scott Gandy started off the drive by finding Brian Lumpkin, and with 15 seconds left in the game, we were all the way down to the 1, so being the freshman he is and not understanding clock management, Scott Gandy yelled at everybody for a bit, then he had nobody open, he took the sack, and we lost the game. We were playing so much better than a 4-4 team, and it showed against Kentucky. It was a snow game at Kroger Field, and midway through the second, Gandy threw a laser to sophomore tight end Ross Landrum, and right before halftime, we would take a 21-point lead. In the fourth quarter, Scott Gandy found James Parker for another 6, and with Gandy's amazing performance, we were able to destroy Kentucky. We were taking on our rivals at Neyland Stadium, and unfortunately, Walter Tucker was able to scramble and get into the end zone first, but Scott Gandy and Brian Canary had us right back in the game 2 minutes later. After we picked off the Volunteers, Canary caught his 2nd touchdown pass, and right before halftime, Canary caught his 3rd. He even came out and caught another touchdown, and on this long touchdown pass to James Parker, Scott Gandy set a school record for the most passing touchdowns in a season. Even with a 28-point lead, somehow Tennessee got right back into the game, and after we fumbled the ball, Tennessee went down to score, and we forced them to fumble it right back. On a record-breaking day, Brian Canary caught his 5th touchdown, and we beat our biggest rivals. In Week 13, we were playing at home against Rice, and it went about how you'd expect, with Scott Gandy throwing his 4th touchdown midway through the second quarter, and we were even winning by so much that senior backup Jacoby Criswell got to come into the game and throw a touchdown himself. So we were going into our last game of the season playing at DKR Texas Memorial Stadium, and Xavier Worthy and the Longhorns took an early 7-point lead on us. Since we were without Patrick Smith for a month due to a cartilage tear, our offense was really struggling. After going down by 14, Quincy Skinner Jr.'s touchdown catch kept us in the game, but we could not stop the Texas offense, so we would just have to outscore them, and that's what we tried our best to do. But after James Parker dropped the wet ball on 4th down, Texas scored 3 consecutive touchdowns on us, and we got obliterated by the Longhorns. Besides the South Carolina game, we didn't have a bad loss this year. The SEC East was just that good. Penn State had a Heisman-winning quarterback, and we were playing the Spartans in the Music City Bowl. Junior linebacker Trinilis Tatum won the Bednarik, and Scott Gandy finished with some nutty first-year stats. He had a lot of great help from his receivers, but the playoffs were set, and Alabama barely escaped with a win, while Michigan beat NC State. In the national championship game, Alabama won by 7, and I think it says a lot about us that we only lost to both of these teams by 3. Michigan State couldn't stop Scott Gandy in our bowl game, but even though we kept scoring, we couldn't stop them either. Spartan quarterback Hamp Fay was dotting us up as he matched our touchdowns, and they ended up holding us to 3, but then we did the same. Our offenses were completely mirroring each other, and this game was clearly going to be a massive shootout. Right before halftime, we faked them out with this play action, and Scott Gandy released a bomb to Brian Canary, and he got us all the way down the field. On the next play, Gandy went back to Canary, and we went into halftime up 7. While trying to match our touchdown and tie the game, Hamp Fay threw an interception right to Tyson Russell, and we were in a great position to capitalize on it. However, they held us to just 3, but the damage was done. And from there, we were able to seal the game. I had won my 2nd bowl game as a head coach, and we finished the year 8-5.